This is CNN Breaking News.
And the breaking news, CNN has learned that Vice President Kamala Harris has picked Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to be her running mate. You are looking at live pictures from St. Paul, Minnesota, outside the home of the Minnesota governor right now. Let me just read you the alert as it just came in. Vice President Harris has made a decision with 4 people close to the process saying Tim Walz of Minnesota is her choice.
Tim Walz, being the governor there, he is known for things like signing universal school meals bill into fruition. And also, he is a veteran, a gun owner. He points out a hunter, a father. He also put into place a historic gun safety measure into law in his state. He is also known as a progressive. And so there are a lot of people talking about what this ticket was going to look like. And it looks like we are getting reporting now from our Jeff Zeleny, from our John King, that indeed Tim Walz has been the person picked. The governor of Minnesota will likely be her vice presidential candidate.
John King, Jeff Zeleny, Jamie Gangel, MJ Lee, all on this reporting from 4 sources. I believe we have John King walking into frame right now. Since you are the one with us, John, we will go to you first with this pick, the why and what it means.
Well, the why is going to be comfort level. The why is going to be that Harris believes this is a good governing partner. And the interesting conversation is going to be, again, if you look in the rearview mirror, history tells us you can't find a lot of data that says vice presidential picks are decisive when it comes to the election. So what is Vice President Harris looking to do here? Number 1, a governing partner. Number 2, a progressive Democrat. What is the Trump campaign saying? That she's, quote unquote, dangerously liberal. What will Governor Walz say? You mean a liberal who has his state guarantee abortion rights for women? A liberal who works at a time when a lot of people are disillusioned in their government. So that's the pick. There will be people who say, but wait a minute, you need to win Pennsylvania. Wouldn't have Governor Shapiro have been stronger? That will be a debate that goes on. And I think one of the big questions today as we watch this play out is the one thing that we have seen in recent weeks. Since President Biden got out, the vice president so quickly unified the party. And then you did have these divisions over who she should pick as a running mate. Do they linger? And I've been at this a long time. Democrats do sometimes stay in their grievances, if you will. Or do they decide, look, our convention's in a week, and we're back in play here. You know, we were losing this race. Now we're back in play. Let's keep it going. So it's going to be fascinating to see it go forward. A little bit awkward. I'm told by a source, and I know Jamie and Jeff and MJ as well, that it's absolutely Walz. Now he's going to go to Josh Shapiro's home state. Right. Will Josh Shapiro be there for the rally? Josh Shapiro is a good Democrat. Josh Shapiro is a rising star in the Democratic Party. Josh Shapiro is a future president in the eyes of many Democrats, younger than Walz. So can he help? Does he help bring the party together to say, let's move on together? So fascinating. I was about to get on the train to Philadelphia, and when we were getting this reporting, I delayed the train by an hour to be here. To be here. But it's look, these are always fascinating picks. And again, reporters obsess about them. People go nuts about them. And then, you know, in the end, you don't see how much impact. I don't know that those rules apply anymore because we're in such uncharted territory with a campaign this late. With Donald Trump's vice presidential pick having a more of a rocky rollout. And so if you've watched, Governor Walz has impressed everybody. He was the dark horse in this race.
Came up with
he has impressed everybody in this race with the weird labeling, with his appearances on television. What does a vice presidential candidate do? You know, the Pittsburgh market, the Erie market, the Grand Rapids market, a lot of small market television. You're doing events, you're doing rallies, but then in between them, you're doing a lot of small market TV so that the nominee can focus on the big picture stuff. So here we go.
Well, when you think about this, though, we need to sort of reframe this as well. This is historic on so many levels. But the thing that everyone is looking at is she's a woman of color, she's black and South Indian. And when you look at her pick, all of the people that were left on that panel were white males, but from swing states. Important to Democrats. We've seen the numbers there of people saying this needs to be someone who is from a swing state, somebody who is particularly liberal. But when you look at this pick, how will Republicans now go after him and her together?
They're going to try to. The Republican argument is going to be that they're left of the country, way left of the country, and again, so you can run at that, or when I first covered the Clinton campaign, they used to say you could run at the polls, you can run from the polls, right? So I think the idea that Walz can make the case that you're going to, and he's been very good on television about this. Now, can you sustain it for the 96, 97 days left in the campaign? But he said, so you're going to, what was the line he said the other day? Oh, so I'm a monster because I guaranteed abortion rights in my state. I'm a monster because I feed children who need the help and the breaks.
And you're getting some reporting coming into your phone right now.
Every phone is buzzing right now. Actually, John, read your phone for a second. I want to bring in Jeff Zeleny and MJ Lee to this conversation. And Jeff, as we go to you, I just want to make one thing clear. I believe it's our reporting that while Walz is the pick, that the phone call hasn't been made and accepted yet. Jeff Zeleny, if you're with us right now, what are you hearing on that front? And anything else you might have heard in the last 90 seconds?
John, that is a bit unclear if the official phone call has happened. This is not a normal phone call. This is going to be recorded and turned into a video message. So I am led to believe that Governor Walz is well aware of where Vice President Harris is going on this. So whether the two principals have spoken, that is unclear at this moment. But we do know that conversations have gone back and forth with the campaign and the Minnesota governor. I am told, though, that the vice president grew increasingly comfortable with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who she didn't know that well at all just a couple months ago, and particularly even a couple weeks ago. But a source close to the process points me to a telephone call on Sunday, July 21st. That is the afternoon that President Biden, of course, stepped aside. And Vice President Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz talked that afternoon. She had many phone calls that day. We reported at the time, I believe, it was about 100 phone calls, but he was one of them. He's a former chairman of the Democratic Governors Association. He was sitting on the Rules Committee for the convention. This was someone who was a player in the process. So that was their first conversation. And then a campaign really was underway for the last 15 days or so, one of the most accelerated campaigns that we can think of as the search was going on. And the plan from the Walz camp was for him to be everywhere and anywhere and as helpful as he could be. And we do know now, of course, that he coined the phrase weird. He called Donald Trump and some Republicans weird. This wasn't a new phrasing. He, in fact, has been using this for several years, but it got renewed attention, and Democrats increasingly became captured by his animation. So that is what led to this decision. But this didn't happen in a vacuum, of course. For a time, she was considering many other people. As many as 6 people were seriously vetted, perhaps a few more. And she met with him on Sunday at the Naval Observatory in Washington. So she talked a lot about chemistry. She wants to pick someone who's a governing partner. Of course, to govern, you must win. And that is the central question here. What does this decision do to her chances of winning, hitting that 270 mark? Pennsylvania, of course, where we are, where she will be later today. Those 19 electoral votes are so important. Governor Shapiro, of course, also important to that equation. So how the Democratic Party comes back together after a pretty abbreviated but still pretty divisive process, that, of course, is now the vice president's burden. This is her party. John?